All right, well, welcome everybody to Admitted, our YouTube channel here. We're going to work today talking about college applications and how to plan like a pro. I'm your host, Jeff Day. I run Tutor Doctor of Morris County here in New Jersey. And with me today, we have Jessica out of North Jersey, Tutor Doctor. We have Byram out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, Tutor Doctor. And we have Chris out of San Diego. So welcome everybody. Can't wait to get going with this topic. That being said, let's jump right in. So Chris, we've talked before, and when we think about the admissions and application and just the process in general, the summertime is a great time to start. But oftentimes I think parents don't know what to do during the summer leading into the fall, and then sometimes it's just a little too late. So if you can, like, how should parents best use their summer from a timeline perspective?
Oh, thank you, Jeff. No, I appreciate it. Having had three of my own kids that have now gone through that whole season of life, where my gray hairs come from, I can speak a little bit of experience, plus the thousands of students we've all helped locally. There's sort of a dynamic tension, if you will, that happens, right? We all want our kids to enjoy their last summer before they start the senior year, but interestingly, that's not really in the cards if your child's going to go off to college. I would refer people back to our other prior videos for all the details and timing for things like SAT prep and other factors there that should best be done in the years prior. But answer one, Jeff, to your question is if you have not yet done any preparation for the SAT or ACT, that needs to happen during the summer between the junior and the senior years. So we have plenty of other videos on that, and Byron will address that a little bit as well. But that's job one because of the very finite dates that those exams are given in the fall, and those need to be concluded by probably no later than Christmas or Hanukkah of the senior year in order to have scores that you can submit to colleges. So stay tuned for more information on that. The essays and the whole applications process, it's best in the summer, about as soon as after school concludes in the junior year, to start brainstorming topics and go to the individual websites of your targeted colleges, which, let me go back, another action item I may humbly assign to people: create an Excel or Google Sheet list of all of the colleges that you're interested in. Um, Estimates vary, but you should have somewhere between 10, 15, maybe even 20 colleges to start from in the beginning, and then whittle that down pretty quickly to maybe 10 or so. But what you want to do is list down the column, the universities or colleges you're interested in, go to their websites, find the average GPA for last year's admitted freshmen. The average GPA, each college will have that on their website, their average SAT score, average ACT score, and then build out those columns for all sorts of other factors you may wish, urban, rural, suburban, or any other factors. But use that right away as the basis for your comparisons. You also want to take a look at when their applications will go live. Do they subscribe to the Common application, otherwise known as the Common App, or do they have their own? And there's some university systems now that have broken off, and their University of California has the UC app, and there's different things going on. But take a look at those applications and those essay requirements. See what prompts that they expect, and basically start your rough drafts. Now, the new Common App will launch on August 1. Jessica will go into more details on that, but you can build out in the Common App. Sign up for that if you haven't done that as well. A lot of action items going on here today, but do register in the Common App application. Get your colleges in there, and then when it rolls on August 1, your colleges will be carried forward, to my understanding. So you won't have to reload them, but you will be able to take a look at this year's prompts, get some ideas, maybe brainstorm a little bit on AI, and then go through that and just start using that as a warm up. But the prompts typically don't change radically year to year. So you can start getting those to about 85, 90% complete during the summer. And then once the full app launches on August 1, then you'll see what those prompts are, and then you can begin to work on those. You'll also want to find your college essay support team. You'll want to contact your local tutor doctor office, or if you have another college planner that you're working with, see who they would recommend to help you prepare your college application or essays. Completely different. And by the way, the applications have to be filled out too. very, very busy time. So to your original question, Jeff, what should parents be doing is planning out these 5 different activities for their summer, in addition to their summer vacations, staycations, family gatherings, everything else. Because what you don't want to do is hit back to school time
Right,
only to find you got nothing done over the summer and you're not going to sleep from Labor Day to Christmas Day. So
right.
that's really the key. And then also you want to take a look at the colleges to see whether they're test optional, test blind. There's a new requirement out there called test recommended, which you may as well consider as test required for all intents and purposes. And so that's really what you'll want to do in summary. Complete the SAT and ACT prep if you've not already completed for the exams. Plan out your college essays, and then make sure you got a good support crew for the essays and applications that you'll be filling out in the summer and into the early part of the school year.
All right, perfect. Thanks, Chris. I appreciate that. There's a lot of information, but if I was going to sum it up, for parents, it sounds to me, and what I also advise, some of my parents is it's all about organization, right? It's all about planning things out and not leaving it till last minute. Far too often, I'm sure I speak for all of us, we get the panicked calls from the parents on what to do, how to do it. They haven't done anything for the SAT themselves. They don't know where they're going. All of this can really be curtailed with a proper plan. A couple other questions that I have, that we get over the course of a year is, is there different timelines when it comes to, well, my son or daughter knows they want to go to this school and this school only. Like, does that change things versus, they've got 3 schools that they want to go to. They're going to apply early decision, things of that nature, versus the standard, decision making process where you're going to go through standard admission. So, is there any differences for that that parents might want to kind of be aware of, so to speak?
Short answer is yes. The best way to approach it, there's really 2 main ways. One, take a look at each of those websites individually. Get a chance, comb through them. If you have access to something called Naviance that's provided by your school, or even SCORE, SCOIR, wonderful resources with tons of data to research. I highly recommend to go through that, and we'll put the links to that in the bottom of the video later for information that you can go research those. So that's yes. The other thing is find somebody who's been through this several different times. Again, tutor doctor, your local tutor doctor office is a great resource to contact. And if they don't directly support that service, they can refer you to partners that they have in your local area who can answer those very questions for you. What I would highly recommend is do not DIY your college applications process unless you are a professional college planner yourself. And even then, working with your own kid might be a little tenuous.
Yeah, great. No, I appreciate that. So, again, organization from our parents, understanding what the goals are, what the goals of your student is actually, or the goals that they are. So yeah, just kind of moving over, Chris, you mentioned that Byron would be able to talk to a little bit more about this. So Byron, I want to make sure you get the proper timing when applications have all sorts of different pieces of them, but one of them obviously is SAT or ACT. So test prep is very critical for these students, and the summer's a great time. But Brian, just what are your test prep thoughts and how to go about that?
Well, as Chris already mentioned, putting a plan together is important, and talking with somebody who is in the know is extremely valuable to you in setting yourself up for success. I'll dive into it a little more in a moment. After me, Jess will be speaking about, college essays and admissions essays in the application process. I want to differentiate right now between college essays and essays in the standardized test. Okay, and there's some really important developments. If you haven't heard, as of January of this year, the College Board announced that the essay portions for the SAT are not going to be administered anymore. So that's huge. So if you're thinking essays, make sure you're talking about the right one, right? And and make sure that is a good one, okay? Because that's a really huge and important part. While the ACT still does offer an optional written essay portion, it's really important for you to do your homework when you're doing that discovery work of reaching out to the colleges and find out, hey, what is it what are they looking for? Are they looking for an ACT or an SAT? What kind of a score matters? If I submit an essay, are they even going to consider it? Do they want one? So there's reasons that the College Board made the decision that they did, and basically it comes down to that they really believe that there's other ways to demonstrate mastery in essay writing. So very few schools are insisting upon it. So you need to ask and make sure. And then when you are submitting an essay, make sure it's a really, really good one. So one of those places that you can demonstrate that is in like an AP exam, for example, right? And that is often taking the place for subject tests. So let's talk about why it matters to have a good score in your SAT. It matters, and Jess will get into it about your college admissions essay, but it also matters to have a best score in your SAT, and that starts off by having a good plan together, right? And once you've put a good plan together, you're going to do a baseline test, and we're going to Tutor Doctor, we're going to offer a full-length baseline test to really assess where you're at. And that's going to give us a good handle on what is your working knowledge of being able to write a good essay. So, and then we'll take all that information, put together a customized plan, and get you working towards a solid plan that's going to get the best outcomes that you're looking for. Because what you're looking for is a best score, whether that's a super score or a single test or somewhere in between there, you're going to want to demonstrate your best.
Right.
So, why does a good score matter? Well, there's at least three main reasons why a good score matters. And primarily, it's a measure of your academic readiness. Okay, so you want to be able to demonstrate that. And I'm seeing that the sun is coming through, and I look like I'm in jail right now. But there's a second reason is that colleges will use those scores in measuring or assessing and comparing applicants, especially if you're of a diverse educational background, or even in test optional schools, right? So they're going to be looking at it for those reasons. And third, a great reason is that, and most of us are going to be looking for receiving some kind of merit-based scholarship or financial aid. Your good score will boost your chances of getting the kind of award that you would like. So test prep, we've talked about it a lot in some of our other videos, but as it relates to this subject today at hand, when it comes to scores and essays, those would be my thoughts on the subject.
Perfect. I appreciate that, Byron. I think we all agree with you. One thing that Tutor Doctor does very well is the full length tests and our ability to determine baseline scores, discuss the importance of scores, how to get better scores, things of that nature. So definitely appreciate the input on that.
Yeah, it's not just a baseline score, right? We're going to start there, right? But we
Yeah.
want them to take those practice tests multiple times every 3 or 4 weeks.
Oh, absolutely true.
And that's really going to be able to help us measure their progress and keep them on track to where they want to go.
Yeah, I know sometimes that the students don't love that, but at the end of the day, when they do see the results on the one that really counts, I think they appreciate the work that they did put in.
And
So,
Jeff, that speaks to what we were talking just very at the beginning, coming up with that list of colleges and listing their all the SAT and the ACT scores for each of them.
right.
So then that way you can create the average of them or whatnot. but that'll give you that goal. And as Byron said, with that initial score, then we see what that the desired, and that gap between is what needs to be filled during their preparation process. And the motivation you mentioned, many times by having that goal and knowing, oh, I'm 300 points away. Now I'm down to 100 points away. And,
Right.
they see that progress. It's not nebulous out there. So that's another reason why that practice test Byron said is so important at the start of the process.
Yeah, agreed. I think the way we approach it, it makes it very tangible for our students. They can go get it with whatever their goals are. So I know I do want to transition over to Jessica because, in our college applications and how do we plan for it, the essay is a big part, and I think it gives a lot of people some anxiety, quite frankly. But there's a way to go about it, and Jess has done such a nice job over her time with Tutor Doctor here. But Jess, just real quick, like how does the college essay differ from other essays that they've written in the past, and what are some of those things they have to watch out for?
Well, so it's interesting with the college essay. A lot of kids just do. They get freaked out about it. They don't really know what to write, what to do, So typically, over the years, I refer a lot to college coaches. There are ways that they come up with a topic. It's a brainstorming of who this student is all really is. That's what these especially some of the very high level Ivy League schools, they want to know, out of all these 20,000 applicants, why should we choose you? Really, why should we choose you? And I have some really great stories and examples of students of ours that have, one of the moms called me up and said, you're not going to believe it. I got a call from every single one of my son's colleges saying what an unbelievable essay he wrote. And guess what? He got a full ride to Harvard. And that's unbelievable. It's because primarily of his essay. Granted, he was an incredible all-around student. But I think that to brainstorm, what are you all about as a student, as a person? Why are you driven to want to be an engineer? Why are you, driven to do 500 community service hours? What is it about you as a person, as a student, that goes all the way back possibly to experience you may have had as a little child? I had a student who got into Cornell for biology, and we had to pull the information out of her in order to come up with a topic for her essay because she was so specifically class and goal oriented. She had to dig really, really deep to find out, within herself, what makes sense for me to write about, which is why I want to go into plant biology. So it's something, it's very different than writing a structured essay or an analytical essay or an argumentative essay, or it's really about you and your writing skills as a junior, soon to be a senior, really come out in this. And this is where we as Tutor Doctor can help, is with the editing and the sentence structure and the details of the essay and what you're writing about to get really, really strong paragraphs and concepts. So it's very different than just coming up with an argumentative or an essay or a book report or something like that. What Chris was saying about the common application and how to do your spreadsheet, what's important is to know, does your school accept the common application or does your school not? And sometimes, one of our local state schools here in New Jersey, out of the blue, they don't accept the Common App. I don't know why. They have their own application process, but most schools do, but some schools don't. So you need to know that, so you're on top of your game. And if the other schools do not accept the Common App, they have their own essay topics that are specific. I know Georgetown's one of them, specific to that university. So you need to know what that essay topic and those supplemental essays are. It's not on the Common Application. So typically on August 1st, that's the day that the Common Application goes live as far as showing the students the actual supplemental essay topics and the general essay topic. So they have to be ready to go. They have to be ready to go. They can have their account set up, as Chris said, ahead of time, but those essay topics and supplementals go live on August 1st. And the scholarships are really big. especially because of the essays. Look at my student who got a full ride to Harvard. And his mom was called by every school saying, what an incredible essay your student wrote. I mean, that's amazing, so they can definitely open doors for you in conjunction with planning your SAT and your everything. It's all a complete holistic package. And I think that's one of the most important things is planning ahead, knowing your goals, knowing when to do things, and we can 100% help you in advance. So nothing is a surprise, and it can alleviate anxiety as opposed to causing more. That's one of the keys.
Yeah, no, I agree. Alleviating anxiety, planning, I think it all, is combined, whether it's the essay portion of the application, whether it's test prep and getting ready to be able to put that score on an application, planning, if you have time is precious. You think you have a lot of it, and then all of a sudden it starts to compress, right? And trying to get out in front of it, as much as we all know we're supposed to do that in all aspects of our lives. Our lives are busy, and so are your kids, right? Your kids are super busy, and there's always something else that could come up. So prioritizing the organization of your college application and your thoughts on the college admission process is really critical, and you'll be able to actually self-guide in a lot of cases. So Jess, I appreciate the insight on the actual essay piece of it. It is different, and it does separate you from other folks. I mean, you used Harvard as an example, you used Cornell as an example. Everyone's smart that applies there, right?
Exactly.
So you have to be able to differentiate yourself. So before we kind of wrap up, I do want to ask, Byron, Chris, Jess in general, like, are there any other thoughts that you want to kind of interject either on the three different pieces that we addressed today, whether it was the timeline that Chris addressed early, Byron on the actual test prep thoughts and how to go about it, or with Jess and the actual college essay itself. Any of the three of you guys want to interject on some of the other subjects that we talked about before we wrap up?
Yeah, I realized one thing I didn't mention earlier, and this is right at the beginning. Do not proceed to go. Do not collect $200 like the old Monopoly game. Be in contact if you haven't already, or if you have increased contact with your high school counselor. They basically know what's going, even though they probably have a 400 to 1, 500 to 1 ratio of students that they have to address. When they're working with rising seniors, you do start to get the priority you might not have gotten as a freshman or sophomore per se. They want to make sure that everybody's ready to graduate, get out the door. And so many times they have sort of boilerplate recommendations, timelines, schedules, and things like that that they can make available. Before you contact them, it would be good if you form your own questions about the process. Maybe this conversation here today, this video, might have sparked some questions. Maybe it answered some. But do contact your high school counselor. That person, that individual, will help fill in a lot of those gaps and can direct you in the right places. And it's a free resource working for you. So I would definitely recommend that as the very first thing. But also you can take a look at the resource. And as we mentioned, Tutor Doctor is another local resource. Always glad to help.
I have one more thing, Jeff, I want to add.
Sure.
In regards to early decision. Early decision, and I'll give another story, an example. Early decision is when you know that this is the school you want to go to, you're set, this is where you want to be in regards to application. And when you're out there exploring these schools and you find a school that this is your place and this is where you want to be, connect with some of those admissions counselors at your school that you want to go to. Let them know that this is my number one place I want to be. I want you to know who I am. Right. And I tell parents that when you're out there doing visits, physical visits, connect with the admissions counselor that handles your state, because there's typically always one, and let them know who you are, because it matters. So my niece wanted to go to Connecticut College. That's where she wanted to be, 100 million %. This is remarkable, but she applied there, and that's early. She got in, never applied anywhere else.
Right.
How often does that happen? not often, but she connected with the people at Connecticut College. It was 100% the perfect fit for her. And she connected with admissions counselors in advance so they knew who she was and how badly she wanted to go there. That makes a difference, a big
Yeah.
difference. If
That's
you
one
want to,
component of demonstrated
yeah,
interest. And as you mentioned, I think earlier in a prior video, Jess, demonstrated interest has risen actually as one of the components of college admissions. It's one way to separate yourself from the herd, as they say, along with your essay.
yep.
Yeah. No, I think it's really important. So as I start to wrap up, it's interesting. I think a lot of us as parents or folks that have been through it's changed, right? There are the ability for students to leave their state has changed significantly. Whether you're from the Northeast, I mean, I know where I am up here in New Jersey, the amount of University of Alabama, South Carolina, Texas,
Huge.
Tennessee, you know,
They all want to go
California
there.
schools. Yeah, they all everybody's going everywhere. They're not just staying in state anymore. So makes it even more important for you to make that connection. If you're going to take the time to go visit that school and it becomes one of your top schools that you want to go to, you need to make that connection because there's a lot of kids from all over the United States are trying to go to different states. So I think that's really important. So look, here at Tutor Doctor, look, we can guide students, right, and families, but we're not college coaches. Well, not all of us. I know I'm not. There's a big difference between brainstorming for your essay and then actually writing the essay, right? College coaches have the expertise and knowledge of the colleges and universities that you're looking at. Chris made a great call with your actual school counselor. They also have all of that knowledge of those universities, the environments, the different merit aids that can come up with your scores and how you go about applying and your academic history. We can help on the editing and the elaborating and the building of that college essay is where our expertise comes in. So if you think about it, similar to how you approach many things in your professional career, and as these students continue to push through their college into professional careers, it takes a team, right? And we are part of that team. But so is a college coach, so is your high school counselor. But if you combine them with a lot of organization, you have a much, much better chance of success for the dreams and the goals that you're looking to achieve. So, guys, I really appreciate you being on today. Looking forward, I always enjoy these conversations and looking forward to the next one. Thanks everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.